Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com, and I just noticed that my camera needs to be adjusted. Sometimes I just notice things and don't notice things, and so that would have bothered me all through the show. But I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one-word conversations. The show is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place where you can be yourself and live your life. There are a number of items there, and you can sign up for coaching. And one item that is there that I bring into this conversation to set the intentions for this conversation is the U cards. So the U cards for this conversation is I am complete. I am complete. You are enough. And I think you should just do it is the quote of today. And with that intention being set, I am going to introduce our word, gratitude. And this is an interesting word for me because I talk to a lot of coaches and I work with a lot of people where this is an important part of my day, an important part of my life. And in some cases, I'm still figuring out what it means, what it truly means, and the power of it. So I am honored to have my friend and my guest come in, and we will have a conversation about gratitude. I would love to hear your comments within the comment site. Good morning.
Good morning, William. Good to be here.
This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be on the show today, William. It's an honor to be here. So my name is Steve Eanes. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, relocated to Charlotte in 1995. And William and I met through Toastmasters. If you're not involved in Toastmasters, it's a great organization. Been married for 23 years, have a 21-year-old son and a 9-year-old son. And yes, the same mom. And I'm just happy to be here today to talk about gratitude.
Oh, wonderful. Great. I was like, I have 4 adult children, and so they're a lot closer in age, let's just say. It's like,
well, there's a reason why.
Right. So wonderful. So how does the word gratitude land for you?
Well, I know everyone is talking about COVID in the last 4 or 5 months and how people have lost their jobs and things have gotten tight. People can't go anywhere. They're heavily covered if they go anywhere. And so the word gratitude in that sense might seem to be something that we might have to reach to actually achieve and celebrate. I look at gratitude as just being thankful for where you're at, what you have, who you're with, and what you're doing at that particular time. Because you can always look around and find somebody that is in a worse situation. Right. And if you can help them. But being thankful and showing gratitude is really one of the main ways that you can get out of any situation that you're in that is holding you down.
Right. Oh, I so get that. I really can sometimes get distracted within what's happening and not happening in my life, right? Right. And so it's like there was this song about 5 years ago that I became aware of it, and it's like Grateful for It All. And I was going through some things that were difficult and some challenging. And I was trying to sing that song, and it's like, no, I'm not there yet. I'm not grateful for it all. I'm grateful, but that place of gratitude, the more that how it lands for me, and I was saying in the, I guess in the intro, and, to kind of introduce the word, it's like an action word, right? It's like you're grateful, and then you show gratitude, right? There is a movement in gratitude. Is that Is that your feeling of it, or does it show up that way too? Like there's like an action or purpose or movement within it?
It is. I mean, I think of two famous inspirational, motivational speakers, and a couple of things said listening to you talk about, what you were just saying. One of them is Jim Rohn, who's no longer with us. Well, neither one of them are with us anymore. But Jim Rohn, he used to say, "How could you know there are good times if you didn't experience any bad times?"
Right.
And gratitude is a way to get back up that hill. And then, of course, Zig Ziglar said, "Your attitude determines your altitude."
Right.
So, we've all met people, I'm sure, that we could look at them on the outside and say, they're in some pretty rough, challenging situations,
Right.
but they're happy, they're smiling, they're
Right.
looking for the silver lining, they're looking at the bright side. And it's amazing how things can get better, but who's to say they're not better for them anyway, because it's being content. There's a real old book that sold the most copies ever in the world, been around for long, long time. And it basically talks about, in whatever situation you're in, be content. And I'll add to that, show gratitude.
Right. No, I get that. I am so grateful for that book to help the reminders of that. And I think for me, where I get tripped up around gratitude, and I guess to be honest, it is really, I don't want to have it in comparison to somebody else. You know what I mean? I want to be grateful and have actions of gratitude independent of what's someone's doing or not doing, right?
Right.
And it's like sometimes it just feels like, you know how the saying is, one up somebody or one down some, he's like, you think that's horrible, I had to walk 100 miles both ways to school and in the snow, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, that was a way for me to that's how gratitude was introduced to me. It was like, I had it worse, you're not as bad as me, so shut up, right?
Right.
And so it's like, how can I embrace that, right?
Right.
Type of thing. But there is a more powerful way to really have an appreciation and a gratefulness to really accept the blessings and the things that are available to us.
Right. And if I could, I would like to share with you a quick story, personal story, that really illustrates the gratitude journey, the gratitude jump, if
Wonderful.
I can.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this year is a monumental year for me. It's 50-30 or 50-20. Okay. So 50-20. So the 20 relates to 20 years ago, right after my 30th birthday, which happens to be, my birthday is a few days from right now. So a few days after my 30th birthday, 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 malignant melanoma. And before that, my background's in sales. And before that, I'm bull in a china shop, full throttle, blessed to be successful, but just pushing, depersonality. And I still have tendencies, be outgoing and depersonality and stuff like that. But that was really my epiphany on gratitude, because I'm sitting in the doctor's office and I'm being given a dim diagnosis. The treatment is a clinical trial, have surgery to remove my lymph nodes from my right leg. 5-year survival rate less than 30%. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? I can either go ahead and die, or I can be positive and just pray for the best. And that's what I chose to do. So here we are 20 years later, which is about 4 times the 30% less than 5-year survival period.
Right.
And I turned 50 in a few days. So gratitude is a big thing to me, because, some people are ashamed of their age, but I'm not, because I shouldn't be here.
Right.
If you have a rough time in business or have a rough time in life, well, the rubber meets the road when you're diagnosed with something serious health-wise. Right. Because there are some things that can be replaced. Like a job can be replaced. A car can be replaced. A house can be replaced, but you can't be replaced.
Right.
And
Wow.
so that's really on the gratitude journey. That's what really put me into the mode of always being grateful. Usually people when they're in their 40s or 50s is when they move from success to significance. I just had that epiphany when I was 30. And the funny thing about it is that being focused on showing gratitude, helping other people win, has really led to me being successful as well.
Right. Wow. No, thank you for sharing that story. Um there's a part of me that's like I can't even imagine being told, that, hey, the success rate is like 5 years. So I mean, if it's, if
30% for 5 years.
right, 30% for 5, I mean, that's even worse than how I kind of got in my head. And to really kind of being with that, and then looking at your life 20 years after that, and just the level of, you, you know, none of us are promised a day, right?
Right.
And there is a awareness and an unawareness of just how blessed and how grateful we could be to like be here, right? Just to be a part of something. And I think the main reason why my epiphany came, 5 years ago, late in my 40s, the that I wasn't living my life. I wasn't living a life. I was just my life was, as you were talking about, all these things driven and kind of being successful of just doing the task. But I realized my life was just living out everybody else's expectations. It's like, what do you expect me to do? That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Until that reached an end. It didn't take, an illness. It took a failing business and, a marriage that was, possibly ending, or told that it probably was going to end, for me to wake up and say, I want to be in my life. I'm grateful. I have a level of gratitude for being here, but I want to connect to whatever that is. And the more that the more that I've been able to connect to that, the more that I can show up in my life and meet people like you. And like you said, the connection of Toastmasters and all the people that are not just talking, but sharing their life.
Right.
Getting the understanding of of putting together a story and sharing that, and that's what I am grateful with, that I had the opportunity to not just get a life, as they say, but live it, and then have the tools to share it, right? To speak it, to speak about it. And so that's why I'm just so honored for you to tell that story, and just really, cause us to be grateful for every moment, that we have and that we're given to. But what do you think? Because this is still a question for me. What do you think is the reason why we can easily get distracted from the awareness of how grateful we are? Did that make sense?
It does. I mean, it's very easy to get distracted.
Right.
That's reality. And even myself, even with my testimony, and the reality of it is, if you think about it, my first son was not quite 2 years old. My second son was still 10 years in the future. So my first son probably wouldn't remember me if I had not survived, and my second son wouldn't be here.
Wow.
But I think what happens when people are in a situation where they lose their awareness, we just get caught up in the things of life. It
Right.
could be things like what you're talking about when you say that you get into business or you get into an activity or you get into something that maybe in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter a whole lot, but it's bringing you happiness, quote unquote, and success, quote unquote, at that
Right.
particular time.
Right.
But there's always a wake up call. And I think that's one of the things that's happened with COVID is people have realized that we need to be thankful for the little things.
Right.
We need to be thankful for the opportunity to go to the grocery store or maybe get takeout fast food from the parking lot
Right.
or see a friend or family member when you're used to it all the time when you're in the hustle
Right.
and bustle of things pre-COVID.
Right.
And so I think that if we basically just take time to take a deep breath periodically, evaluate things, stop for a few minutes, try to catch up. It's hard for me. I know my friends, probably my family watching this are probably like, wow, go ahead and take your own message, Steve. And I'm working on it.
Right.
But it's very easy to lose sight of what's really important. And
Right.
gratitude helps you get there. And I think if you focus on showing gratitude all the time, every day, they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Right.
Well, I could say something like showing gratitude every day keeps the gremlins away.
Right. There's a gratitude, I guess, portion of my daily meditation practice. And it says, and I just I just do, say like three things that I'm grateful for, in those quiet times.
Right.
And I remember when I first started doing that, it was very, I don't want to say it was very amateurish in the sense that it was like, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for, I mean, even though that's the truth, right? I'm grateful
Right.
for my wife, I'm great. But it was like with no thought. It was like, this is what I should be grateful for.
Right.
But I've noticed that the more that I've embraced this, that meditation and gratitude practice, the things that come up that I'm grateful for, that, as you said, I'm not aware of, but then I become present to, like my health, my sanity, the people that I'm connected to, the opportunity to speak in front of people, the internet. I'm grateful that I have, a strong internet. And it's like, it's like things that are so much a part of my life that I take for granted, that there's a feeling that if I don't show gratitude towards, or if I don't mention that, it feels like it'll go away. And I had a friend, and it's just coming up for me right now, that I've been having a very tough week, because on Monday I learned that a dear friend of mine passed away suddenly. He was in his late 40s, and I just met him 8 months ago, and we would talk and interact almost on the daily. There was like something, he would show up on my show and make snarty comments or something, and send me a messenger and all that other kind of stuff. And it was something that I was used to. I was thankful for. I was grateful that your friends are encouraging you and doing what you're doing. But when I got the news that he was gone, that he had transitioned, I couldn't believe it. And then it didn't like sink in until I was laying down that night, Monday night, and I became aware that I had no interaction with him.
Wow.
And then I was really grateful for the time that I had to spend with him. And I was like, wait a minute, did I share with him how grateful I was that he died? Was I taking that for granted? And then there was this really going back and forth of really, am I letting people in my life know, how grateful I am for them? Am I letting the things that are in my area of influence know that gratitude, that I am grateful, and it's not this taking things for granted, or just there's this expectation of things, happen, or this assumption that things
Right.
are going to like work out. Yes, I can believe that all things are working for my good. I can believe that, but I believe there's a level of gratitude that has to come with that,
Yep.
or it's just I don't know, an assumption that that's that's the case.
Well, the thing is that, and I'm going to share an example here, and what you're just talking about, that's really one of my missions in life. And I'm sure we'll kind of touch on that in a little while when we're toward the end of the show. But one of the things that came to mind when you were just talking about your friend is this is live on Facebook as well as some other avenues.
Right.
And Facebook has really opened up things, especially for those of us who are maybe children of the late 80s or the early 90s when Facebook wasn't around.
Right.
So I told you I'm turning 50 in a few days. I graduated from high school in 1988. And after graduation, there are a lot of people that I just simply lost contact with. Went to college, ended up moving to Charlotte, started my career, things like that. And then Facebook comes along, and around 2009, 2010, 2011, I start reconnecting with these people that I grew up with on Facebook.
Right.
And it's sort of amazing how it's been a little over 20 years, and there are some people that are dramatically changed, and there are some people that haven't changed at all.
Right.
But what you learn is as time goes on, and it's a shame that you don't learn this when you're 17, 16, or 18, when you're in their teenage years,
Right.
is that there are a lot of people who we thought had it all together, and they basically didn't. And they're
Right.
still trying to find where they're going. Then you have others that were kind of like the ugly duckling that turned into the swan. And I'm not talking about looks as much as what's happened in their life.
Right.
And gratitude really plays a lot into that. So one of the things that I really try to focus on, and I think my friends that I grew up with who watch this show can attest to this, is that I try to make it a focused effort, whether it's with a card, whether it's with a message, whether it's with a text if I have their phone number, just to let them know how important they are.
Right.
Because people don't hear that. If you remember How to Win Friends and Influence People, great book by Dale Carnegie,
Absolutely.
he said that what somebody craves the most is to be appreciated. And genuinely appreciated is what I'll add to that. Not working an angle, not trying to get something from somebody, but genuinely just tell somebody, I'm glad we're friends. I mean, think about how many suicides go on, and their friends look at them after the incident has happened and say, I never knew they were going through all of that.
Right.
What if they would have just told them, I appreciate you. You matter. You're important to me. I'm thankful for you.
Right.
They literally could have saved their life. There's numerous stories that I can think of people that I know, maybe 2 or 3 degrees away from me, where I didn't know them, but I knew them maybe on Facebook or had some mutual friends. And something dramatic happened where they took their own life and everybody's in shock. Or I think of an incident where my uncle on my mom's side, his wife, who's my aunt, they came to visit my parents in Charleston years ago. And they actually came through Charlotte and saw us after they left my parents. And we met them up near Concord Mills, grabbed a meal, went to the mall.
Right.
And a week and a half later, almost 2 weeks later, my uncle was killed in a car accident. I was grateful that we had the opportunity to see him a few weeks earlier. But the sad thing about it is that he lived up in the Illinois area. So I didn't really know him at all. When I met him with my aunt, I didn't really know him at all, but he was my uncle. And then he was gone a few weeks later. Wow. So I share that story because, like you said, we're not promised tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen today. The important thing is to be grateful and show gratitude, which is the action of being grateful every time you have an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I really get that, and I think the Like the quote card, it just reminded me of the quote card from my U card is, I think you should just do it,
Yep.
and it's like, I think you should just be grateful, right? I think you should just share with the, your loved ones, what they mean to you. And it's one of those things for me. I don't know if it's my introvert label or just shy label or what, but it's like, well, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to, I don't want to put people out. I don't want to feel too needy and all that other kind of stuff. And the stories that I tell myself that keep me from really showing up for people, are crazy, because I think, like you said, it's that connection, and you never know what a smile,
Hmm.
what a hello with,
Hmm.
a nice note or something will do to someone, in the course of going around. And that, and I think all of that comes out of living a grateful life.
Right.
I think the more grateful that we are, the more that level of gratitude is shared. It's like grace, we receive grace for grace, right? To extend grace, right? And it's the same thing with love. We experience love, love your neighbor like you love yourself, right? That love that we have an awareness for ourselves
Hmm.
makes it easier for us to share that, with other people. And I think gratitude fits the fits the bill for that.
Well, I'll take it from a different angle as well.
Okay.
What if people don't show gratitude because they feel like they might be rejected when they show gratitude?
Hmm.
Because maybe they don't want to put themselves out there. Maybe they feel like they're putting their feelings out there to be hurt.
Right.
Really, they're not. I mean, I can see that happening when somebody is a teenager or maybe a young adult, but we should grow out of that and not worry about that anymore. But I think
Right.
there's a lot of people, and I've experienced it myself, where we don't want to let people get too close. And sometimes we feel that we're letting people get close if we show gratitude toward them and they
Right.
don't accept it.
Right. Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. No. It's interesting. There's like I said, there are stories that I definitely tell myself, yeah, no, that have nothing to do with other people, right?
Right.
Again. so, so it's like, so, maybe they won't like it, or maybe I need to say it the right way, and all that other kind of stuff.
We give people too much power. We
Right.
give people too much power. We should just show gratitude, appreciation. Falls under that category. We should show gratitude, and if they accept it, great. If they don't, we didn't do anything wrong. It isn't like we're trying to do anything inappropriate. We're just letting them know that we appreciate them
Right.
or
Oh,
saying thank you.
yeah. Yeah. I think that's another thing that, can go a long way. And I think,
Right.
thank you, um, those simple words, it kind of sets the space, or gives us the space to really, um, allow people to see the appreciation,
Right.
of what's happening. And sometimes it seems like, and it feels like, a throwaway word, right? It's just like,
Right.
that's just what we say, because it's, I'm a nice person, so, I say, nice people say please and thank you and all that type of thing. But when there's a thank you that is, meaningful, or when it has meaning and it's connected to an action, or how someone is showing up, I think people feel that. And I'm really getting, that it is, more than just being an action, more than just being of movement, of gratefulness. Gratitude is the, um, the heart connector. You're gonna hate, it is really, I talk about disconnect to connect. This is the framework of this show. And gratitude, showing gratitude, or being a life being in a space of being grateful allows us to just connect on a level that I think in many times we don't understand.
Right.
And like you said, that sometimes it's hard to know if people will receive that.
Right. Well, here's another example, and this can relate to business, whatever business you're in, because most people have a job, and
Right.
if you don't, then you should be grateful and show gratitude that you don't have to have a job.
Right.
But
Right.
if you have a job, I'll give you a true story. So when I turned 16, I started working at a grocery store, and it was Bilo. I was a bag boy, cashier, all the normal things teenager does as working in the grocery store. And I remember distinctly when I was 17, I had worked there a little over a year. One day I received a postcard in the mail at my home. I was staying with my parents, and it was from the customer service manager at the grocery store.
Hmm.
And all it said on the card was, "Steve, just wanted to say thank you for the great job you're doing. We're glad to have you at Bilo. And here's the clincher, Jeffrey Baker." I remember his name to this
Hmm.
day,
Wow.
from 17 to almost 50. And what that showed me is in business, so many people are talking about being top of mind. You
Hmm.
want people to think of you when they need your product or service, especially if you're in sales. Top of mind, be top of mind. Well, using gratitude, which is what we're talking about today, let's move from here, which is top of mind, to here, which is top of heart.
Wow.
How can you move from top of heart? Well, don't let every interaction with your clients or prospects be all about business.
Hmm.
Show gratitude. Say thank you. Say I appreciate you. You notice something in the news where they won an award or their company won an award. Make note of that. Let them know that you noticed that.
Right.
When you move from top of mind to top of heart, that's a bond that can't be broken.
Right.
People will do business with you even if you're a little bit more expensive because of the relationship.
Right.
They know that there's something there. But it all goes back to, and this is probably another one word conversation that you have with somebody else, genuine,
Hmm.
sincere,
That's a great word.
real.
Hmm.
Because gratitude is only successful, if you want to call it that, when it's genuine.
Great.
Because people can, just like, I don't know how many people are watching this from Charlotte, but as much as people can tell when you auto bell, if you've heard that commercial, but for auto
Right.
bell car wash, they can tell when you're genuine with your gratitude. And if you're not, it would actually be better if you didn't show it,
Hmm.
because it has a worse effect if you're not genuine and sincere than as if you didn't do it at all.
Right.
So sincere gratitude, I know that's a second word, but genuine gratitude, sincere gratitude,
Right.
that's what's powerful, because it's what ties people together heart to heart.
Right. And I think, what I'm learning from, having these conversations, these one word conversations, is that words just don't show up with their definition. They show up with other words, right?
Right.
So it's like, so there is, because I think within our communication, we're always looking to have a sentence, right? And it is, and sometimes it can get complicated, right?
Right.
But really, the more that we understand the words that are coming with the other words, and I think, like you were saying, genuine and real, um, heartfelt, a part of gratitude, right? That's when those are a part, then I love what you said, the top of heart. And it's like, yeah, what is, when I think of Steve, top of heart is going to come to mind. And that, I think it's those people that we have, that when just by thinking about them, we smile, right? It's like, because they're not just top of our mind, they're top of our heart, right? And
Right.
I think it's because how we connect and being able to share, and I think it's sometimes for me, I don't know if this is the guy label or not. It's like to say to someone that, hey, when I think of you, it just makes me smile. It's like, what does that mean? Right? Type of thing. It's like it's not a rugged guy thing to say, right?
Yeah.
But I think the more that I embrace how people are showing up to me and am grateful of that, right? And show gratitude that, then I really believe that that's extended. That's like kindness, kindness is contagious, being grateful is contagious, right? And
Right.
the more that we show up that way, the more that we'll see more of it.
Well, I know one of the things that I've said since the cancer experience is that when my time comes, whenever that is, and hopefully it's a long time from now, I don't want people to say he was a successful salesperson. He was really good at this. He was really good at that. I want them to say, I'll miss Steve because he always made me feel better about myself. He always made me feel like I could achieve more. And that's one of my driving factors in my life is to help people win because I know I'll win. I'm a big fan of The Go-Giver, a book by
Right.
Bob and John David Mann.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the messages in that book is it's not 50-50, it's 100-100.
Right.
Everybody should win. Be grateful, show gratitude, be thankful.
Right. I read that book a number of years ago. And that's one of those books that you can read again. I would love to see how it lands for me now, to read that. But I've adopted what I call a 3-win strategy. It's like I win and you win and the community wins because we got together.
Right.
And the more that we look for that third win, the more that we'll see change throughout, where we are, and I think that is something for me. The more that I know about myself within the conversation of self-discovery, the more that I know about myself, the more that I know how I show up for other people and be with other people, because I believe that we're on this self journey, by ourselves with others, right? And so, and how to be around people that are grateful that you're around. That's a great place to be. I think, a lot of times people feel like, they tolerate me, right? Right. It's like they barely understand, but
I've had some friends that they've talked about their parents and they basically have said that, like one guy, he said that when his dad quit working, he basically just sat at home all the time. His mom had passed away. His dad just sat at home all the time. He didn't do anything, he didn't go anywhere. He felt like he didn't matter. He felt like he disappeared because everything was tied up in his career and in his job.
Wow.
And what a sad situation. And I know other people that they seem to be busier now that they're retired, hanging out, visiting with friends, even if it's just sitting around and playing cards or going to dinner or what have you.
Right.
It's just interesting, but we're all, there's the emotional bank account. I think Stephen Covey talked about that in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That emotional bank account, when he told his son, keep it green outside, treat people correctly, be considerate. I say show gratitude. You're building that emotional bank account. And then when you're in your situation, we started out talking in the beginning about the highs and the lows of life.
Right.
Well, when you're in the lows of life yourself, that emotional bank account will begin to pay dividends because people will help you get out of it. But it's because you proactively showed gratitude. One of the reasons is because you proactively showed gratitude to them.
Right.
So is that the real, like the Lion King, Hakuna Matata, the circle of life? Is that really what it is?
Right.
Showing gratitude. What goes around comes around.
Right. Yeah.
But it has to start with somebody. We have to start it.
Right. And that's and that is like you said, the be willing or risking how people receive that, right?
Right.
But that's the way it starts.
Right.
And I think for me that I feel more inclined to show gratitude when I feel that I've received it. Is that, when people say, hey, I'm really grateful for you or anything like that, it's like, if, I feel it, I recognize it. And then it's like, okay, let's try this gratitude thing, right?
Well, the thing is you just tapped into something that I think is one of the main problems with the world today. People want people to do something toward them before they'll return it back.
Oh, wow.
And the problem where that comes in is another word of the day that Aretha Franklin made famous: respect. People
Right.
say, you respect me, I'll respect you.
Right.
Well, that's just not the way that it works.
Right.
If somebody's not showing respect to you, you should still show respect to them. But I
Right.
won't get off on the tangent.
Right.
We'll stick with gratitude.
Right.
Show gratitude, and what you show is what will come back to you.
Right.
Now, even if you show gratitude and it doesn't come back to you from everyone,
Right.
well, guess what? Life is not perfect. But there's nothing wrong with you because you did what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So I want to share something with you if I could. One of my friends did. So, see the DTM on my name.
Right. Yeah,
So
I don't know if you can see in the back there. I got my plaque up there. Right?
I see there. My plaque's on the wall over here. It's one of the proudest moments, I tell you.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that was really cool about just receiving my DTM is I have a friend in Charleston named Amy. I've never met Amy in person, but we're friends. So she sent me this card in the mail. And on the inside, she put a picture of me with my DTM plaque.
Oh, wow.
And a nice message. Isn't that cool? I have it sitting on the counter. Thank you, Amy, if you're watching this.
That is really cool.
That meant a whole lot. That meant a whole lot to me. Not just because the picture was there, but just because she took a few minutes to send me that card. Now, if I'm ever, Amy is a real estate agent in Charleston, and I know lots of real estate agents in Charleston because that's where I grew up. A lot of people I grew up with are real estate agents. But if I ran across somebody one house in Charleston, what are the chances of me telling them to call Amy?
Right. I know. Right. Wow.
She's top of heart.
Right.
Not just top of mind.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Hey, I think we can talk about this for hours, but that was really great. Is there anything else that has come up within this conversation that you'll want to leave everybody with?
Yes. Well, I'll just thank you again for the time to be here today. And I'll wrap up just by basically saying that it's my mission to help people show gratitude, show gratitude myself and help people show gratitude. And this card that Amy sent me, I actually used the system that she sent it through. So it's an actual business that I have, and Amy works with me on it as well. I think you had the website scrolling at the bottom.
Right.
I just would like to invite somebody to show gratitude. And if they want to check out that website, they can actually send a card for free to someone, no strings attached. Just make their day. You can do it at that website. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Appreciate you watching the show today. And whatever you do, whether it's a phone call, an email, a text, a card, carrier pigeon, yelling out into the ether, whatever, show gratitude because it's very important. And what you'll find is that when you sit in the room and you think about all the negativity, it magnifies exponentially.
Right.
But when you do the opposite and think of a way that you can show gratitude and call someone or text someone or do something to reach out to let somebody know you appreciate them,
right,
they win and you win. So life is 100-100. Show gratitude. If nothing else, show gratitude.
Wonderful.
So thank you, William.
Steve, this has definitely been great, and I appreciate it. Well, we'll say our goodbyes in the green room, but this was wonderful. I'm very grateful, not just that we connected, but that we had this conversation.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, I shared within the comments the website, so I'm sure there is at least one person that you can share a card. That is so amazing. It's touched by a card, right? I think that's what the thing, touchbycard.com it was. I really get it. There's a lot of things that don't show up that often that means a lot to me, and that's getting something in the mail, and really, just how Steve was saying, he could still remember the name of someone who said something nice to him, an act of gratitude. He was 17 or 18 around that time. But that's great. We remember. We're top of heart. I really hope that this conversation brought value to you, and that you're grateful for it. I would love for you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com if you want to have a conversation about how you can be yourself and live your life, because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a blessed rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.